Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another JJDL team breakdown. This time, we're going to be talking about the JJDL Good Cop, Bad Cop division, or the standard Paldea decks with high tier Terra division. I'm sorry for this video coming out a few days late. A myriad of me forgetting, getting busy, and a few other issues has caused a delay on this, but it's finally getting out today. And that means tomorrow you will be seeing the breakdown for week one of the JJDL game of the Worst Takes division. Tuesday will be a break day due to my computer being serviced, and then Wednesday you will see JJDL uh, Good Cop Bad Cop Week One. Oops. So we're gonna here break down the team that I drafted for the Good Cop Bad Cop division, and we are gonna start with Iron Bundle. Iron Bundle is a Pokemon that I have wanted to use for a long time, but it's always been banned in other leagues I've been in. VGC, it just hasn't been relevant enough there for when it has been there to be picked, and in singles leagues, it has been banned to the Shadow Realm. So I'm finally very happy to use Iron Bundle. Not only does it have access to some of the best water moves in the game, Stab Hydro Pump hits very hard, access to Flip Turn and Ice moves, and even Freeze Dry to hit those water types, has some unique stats. It has Encore and some other cool tech. But most what you draft for is its stats. 136 base speed is an insane top tier speed. Not a lot of Pokemon have above it. Pokemon such as, for example, Dragapult is one of the only Pokemon that have above 136 speed. A lot of the Ubers do not, and a lot of high tier Pokemon cannot outspeed it, making it a hard speed tier for opponents to do. That means at least they're going to have to bring one Scarf mostly to matches or have very strong priority. In which case, I can easily run Sash on this thing. I can run Scarf to outspeed other Scarfs, or I can run Specs and other items. So it was a Pokemon I wanted to build around, and I wanted to get its ideal pairing, or the most common pairing in a second, which I managed to get in Slowking Galar. Slowking Galar is a great Pokemon with access to chilling reception, chilly reception, which allows me to switch it out, get the snow up for the defense for Iron Bundle as it's an ice type, and just start clicking moves. It's a poison psychic type, meaning you also get a grounded poison type, which I think is almost necessary in draft to absorb toxic spikes. It gets access to Curious Medicine, which is not an ability I will ever be using. Own Tempo, another ability I will never be using, but most importantly, Regenerator. Regenerator is a great ability that allows me, when I do switch out with Chilly Reception or manually, to get HP back as well. So I can get the HP back on it and return its tankiness. 95 base HP is great as long as it has decent defense with 80, but it really shines especially. Special defense bulk being a base 110 means that most weeks it either is going to be a special attacking threat, a pivot point, or a great special defense switch into a lot of opponents' Pokemon. For example, you can run like Culver Berry and it counters Darkrai. It has great poison moves that come with Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave. Great coverage as well. It has access to Brick Break to Brick Screens. It has access to things Earthquake if you wanted to run it with its 65 attack. But if we look at its special coverage here, Blizzard has Psychic, it has Fire coverage, it has Grass coverage as well. Focus Miss, it's always an option, not great. It has access to Hex, Power Gem, Ice Beam, and like I said, myriad of poison moves. So if you want to run coverage moves and run a more offensive with Life Orb, you definitely can. But it has access to a lot of good just status moves. Has Calm Mind sets, Chilly Reception, the main has Iron Defense sets, has access to Light Screen as well, Thunder Wave to slow people down, Toxic Spikes of my own, Trick Room if you want to go slow, Taunt, and Slack Off, which are all great things in recovery as well. It's just a great pairing with Iron Bundle. It does make my team a little ground weak, which we will address future, but I thought it was a great pairing. Next Pokemon I wanted to grab is one of the mascots of the JJGL. Is one of a big, I would also call it a meme. It's called the best lead in all of Draft League. It is also the mascot for SDN or Start Draft Now. And there's a very famous wagon picture that's around in the JJGL that I will not share here, but it is Ogerpon Cornerstone. This is the third mask I've been able to use in Draft League. I was able to use Heart Flame in the very beginning when no one knew how to deal with it, so it was absolutely broken and Terra allowed. I was able to use Wellspring to a in VGC. It led me to a playoff season and pretty good results. I also used Wellspring in singles, but we're not going to talk about that season. It has access to sturdy, meaning no matter what, as long as they don't have like Tachyon Cut or Iron Crown or a Scale Shot, you're going to be living a hit and hitting back with either a Rock Ivy Cudgel, getting spikes set up, can recover with moves such as, I believe it gets Synthesis. It does. You can also have things such as Counter, which is always fun, Knock Off, Play Rough, and its normal Ogre Pawn stab move. So I think it actually fits really well on this team. It could take fire type moves if we want it to. That would preferably do it. Rock stab is always great. A lot of things can't switch into rock stab. Sure, you have steel types, but a lot of those probably won't want to switch into an iron bundle hydro pump. And also having the grass coverage is very good for other water types that freeze dry can't break, such as AV Pokemon. We also look at these points. I've spent 15 on Bundle, 15 on Gaunt, and 13 on Cornerstone. This draft specifically has 110 points for 9 to 11 Pokemon, and specifically 28 points for our Terra budget. So I haven't used too many points, as there's 20-point Pokemon, 18, 19-point Pokemon, and higher tier Terras. But I wanted to save some points, see if I can get a much more well-rounded team. And I did pass on the menace known as Terra King Gambit, which is in my opinion, probably the best Pokemon in this format and is an absolute menace to draft Iron Bundle. But I think overall it was a pretty good decision. Speaking of this, we had the 11th pick, I believe. No, the ninth pick for this draft. So we were in the almost exact middle of the 16. So it wasn't that great of a pick, but ended up getting some decent Pokemon, and I'm actually quite happy with a lot of the ones I got. And we're gonna see here sort of how plans changed. Next Pokemon I got is Corviknight. I love Corviknight. I've used Corviknight a bunch of times. It's one of the best defoggers in the whole entire series, which right now my team's pretty weak because I don't want to be running boots on bundle every single week. So having access to defog is great. Having more pivots to get into Iron Bundle as well, with this also having U-turn. Every single one of these three Pokemon so far having a way to pivot is great. Also, it has three good abilities. Pressure is useful, especially in a stallier or longer game to whittle out some PP. Unnerve's actually a decent ability as well. It allows them not to eat resist berries, and Mirror Armor is there for Intimidate, etc. Back to Corviknight, solid steel type, one of the best steel types in the format. Can tank a lot of hits, can pivot, can defog. Everybody pretty much knows what it is. It has great HP, great defense, pretty decent special bulk, and can hit back with things such as Brave Bird, Steel Wing, Iron Head, etc. Has access to Roost, just a good pivot point, and overall just good solid defensive Pokemon. Especially for 11 points, I thought it was great value on the board. I was considering taking Iron Crown, would have made my team a little too special heavy, and Terra Iron Crown was a little expensive. But I figured since Iron Crown went a few picks for me, this was a good pivot point and just good way to start this defensive core. I have the defensive Slowking and I have Corviknight, but sometimes want to run that offensive Glow King that I need more defensive points. This is another way to start. So the next thing I took was Terra Komodo. That's right. Komodo was a lower point value, but with Terra it brings it all the way up to 16. I love Terra Komodo. I've drafted this in the IDPL this season, and it is currently the IPDL this season, currently the kill leader for my league. It has been a great Pokemon for me. Its diversity of sets is honestly actually pretty astounding. Its stats wise has 110 attack, 100 special attack, so you can use both relatively well on the same set. Mix set, Clamor Soul, DD set. You can also have 125 base defense. You have Iron Defense Body Press sets. Its 85 speed isn't that bad either. It can run some Scarf set, run some Boom Burst sets. It can run a lot of different things, and I think it's valuable to any team you can bring it on. And I think it's a nightmare for opponents to prep for because, especially with everything else I have, you never know what Terra it's going to want to be, and or if I'm running it specially or physically. It has three great abilities. Overcoat is mean to powder moves. This is more useful for things such as VGC, for things such as Rage Powder, and stuff like that. The first two we are going to focus on is Bulletproof and Soundproof. Bulletproof and Soundproof are some of the best abilities, I think, actually in the game. Bulletproof allows you to things such as Shadow Ball, Pyro Ball, Focus Miss, and other things don't affect you. And also, you have soundproof, so you can't be affected things like psychic noise, hyper voice, and other things such as there. Opponents that have both on the side have to pick which one it is, and you can also use a Terra to cover up almost the rest of them. So it's kind of hard for opponents and for me sometimes to choose which one to prep for, but it's a hard thing for our opponents to prep for. This Pokemon's a monster. It can 6-0 teams if you let it set up a Clanger Soul Boom Burst. It can 6-0 teams with the Dragon Dance, it can 6-0 teams with Iron Defense Body Press, or it can be actually a good breaker or defensive pivot point. It gets things such as Roar. I believe it also gets Stealth Rocks. It also gets just bulk up sets. Dragon Tail, forcing them to switch in. Endeavor, Facade, has Resto Chesto sets. Also gets Substitute Taunt Sword Stance as well. So this thing is not just a um, um, one-time, one-use Pokemon. It has many different sets. So seeing how that's very expensive, it took 16 points out of my 28 Terra budget, which means my only next Terra captive could be up to 12 points if I wanted to, but it could be less as well. Or I could choose to make it my only Terra captain and not have two. However, you'll see later that I didn't decide to do this, as I feel like having two Terra captains was almost a necessity. Makes your opponent need to think more about what to prep for. And I think overall it makes your life easier if you have two. You could also bring both each week with different Terras, and they won't know which one you're going to want to Terra. So I think it's definitely the right call for two. The next Pokemon I drafted is a Pokemon I do have experience with. It's the turtle Enamorous Therian form. I love Enamorous Therian form. Overcoat is the ability we talked about with Kumo, so it's not that bad, especially on this Pokemon. And it has great stats. It has 135 special attack, which is actually bonkers. You run things like Choice Specs on Sweet Teams with it. It has access to Calm Mind Draining Kiss shenanigans, and as well as some other general things. It also has access to Iron Defense. So again, Iron Defense, Bulk, Calm Mind, other stuff on this thing. It is weakness, it is slow, but it does work a Trick Room with Slowking Galar, which is a benefit. It also has 110 defense, 110 special, and 74 HP, so it could be a defensive pivot point as well. It has access to many different coverage moves, it has Mystical Fire, Earth Power, Psychic, Extra Sentry, Grass Knot, and of course, Focus Miss. It also has Healing Wish, a move which you can feint yourself to restore HP, that is actually pretty good in singles, and especially in certain different scenarios where you need to heal something up, you can sacrifice this Pokemon. Also has access to Rest Sleep Talk shenanigans, Springtime Storm, which is okay, but probably isn't going to be the preferred thing due to its 80 accuracy. So access things such as Superpower, Taunt, Weather Ball, a bunch of other different things as well that are down here. The next Pokemon that's on the list is Zworkasui. I hate this Pokemon. This is one of my least favorite Pokemon ever. I love the design; it's so cool. But every time I play it in Draft League, it crits me. Week two IDPL crit me first turn, and crit me third turn, and crit me the fourth turn to lose the game. Illusion is so annoying to play against. It is absolutely ridiculous to play against. Especially, I feel like on a team with mine with a bunch of heavy threats, such as Komo-O, Iron Bundle, Enamor, Slowking. If you get it wrong, and you end up hitting into his Orixudi and taking a Specs Hyper Voice, or just anything else, it is absolutely nuts. Having accents such as Dark Pulse as well, Flamethrower, Grass Knot. So this Pokemon is just hard to deal with in general. It's very annoying, especially with this 110 base speed, giving it a speed tier I haven't had. And it's great special attack. It also has decent attacks, so don't count out Sword Dance sets as well. The only thing is it's very frail and it is kind of gimmicky, but I feel like it's good. I can't wait to use it and I don't want to go against it, so I'm going to wait to annoy opponents with this Pokemon. I think it fits pretty well. It gives me a Ghost immunity, which I don't have on my team, as Ghost can hit pretty free into Slow King and the rest and still doesn't Ghost. And I think it's just generally a good resist to have. And it also allows me, since it is a ghost type, to deflect Rapid Spin. Pokemon we're going to talk about is Entei. Specifically, this is Terra Entei. This is what I decided to spend my last 10 points on. It gives me a good speed tier and a fire type I'm sorely lacking. Extreme speed Terra Normal is always prevalent, as well as it can do some other things such as defensive Water Terra, Grass Terra, Dragon Terras, etc., as well as Fairy. It's great HP with 115 and amazing tech at 115. Decent defense is best defense, so you can run a bit bulkier. There's access to pressure, which okay, but Inner Focus is also very good as well for those rock side. Sacred Fire is always a good move to burn. Could miss, but hey, getting that burn opportunity on a lot of opponents is pretty good. Also has decent coverage as well on the special and physical side, since it can run both. It has Crunch, things such as Eruption, Extra Century, Facade if you get somehow burned, paralyzed, etc. Although I'm pretty sure you're not going to be running this. Ironhead is also some great coverage, especially want to bring in a fairy type. Um, Gets Stone Edge Stomping Tantrum to deal with other types as well. Also gets access to Trailblaze, which is a great move if you want to set up and sweep with this thing. Will-O-Wisp is always good if you want to run more defensive for burns and you don't want to rely on Sacred Fire, as well as some other moves that are in and out here. And I thought it was a good use on my team specifically, not only to round out that speed tier between the top speed tier and the kind of slowness of my team, but I think having a strong fire type is always a great asset to a team. Sure, is Entei not the beast it once was in the top fire type? Yes. But do I think with Terra and it could benefit the team and fit in a role? Yes. The next Pokemon I drafted is Pokemon I have a famous moment for in the JDGL. If you check out speed tour that's uploaded on Chef's channel, which I'm going to link down in the description. They did a speed tour of Paldeadex where I brought a Gastrodon that countered a Cinderace, and it was quite a cool moment. Even though I lost the game, I did, spoiler alert, get to the semifinals of that speed tour and do recommend you guys check it out. But Gastrodon is the next Pokemon, and get this pink out of here. It's definitely East form is the best form. I don't care what anyone else says. And for 7 points at a water ground, I think it's a great Pokemon. Storm Drain is a great ability to draw water moves that are coming at Entei and others. Having a secondary, more defensive water type, I think, is also a great need. Since you have already the offensive bundle that goes down, it's always good to have a secondary water type, especially more defensive one. It also has access to Sand Force, which is kind of unique against sand teams that make it do a bit more damage. It has access to Acid Armor, which is good. Great HP in 111. It has pretty good special defense, meh defense, but it can actually take a few hits, surprisingly. And with its 92 special attack, it actually doesn't hit that weak back. It's great coverage, Blizzard, Aging Power. Clear Smog is a great move to stop sweepers, except if they're steel type. Chilling Water helps with this. The aforesaid counter moment is great and can actually be brought pretty often. Curse is actually pretty decent as well. It's already slow and gets it more defense. Earth Power's good moves always sit back. It has Ice Beam coverage. It has access to Memento again. Pain Split's good to recover, access to recover, rest. Poison type coverage in Sludge Bomb and Sludge Wave as well, so not just Clear Smog. So has access to Surf and other type moves as well. You also have access to Mirror Coat. So again, counter Mirror Coat strats. Mist is actually semi-usable. If you really want to waste a turn, protecting your stat, you can, but I wouldn't use this. But it is a move of note. Sandstorm to set up it. Skitter Smack's a unique move that you probably won't see on Gastron, but come up. Snowscape is also on it, which would definitely run this season for bundle and other things. So is that it also has stockpile shenanigans where you can stockpile and use swallow, which if you want to go ahead and use it, you can. But also these last two down here are the ones I want to mention. Whirlpool's a great trapping move, especially for Pokemon that can't really do great damage against Gastron that you can recover from. Say you can trap a Pokemon that doesn't have recovery and recover up and get some negative chip damage for said bundle, etc. It's a great thing to do, as well as Yawn's a good ability. Puts Pokemon to sleep and probably forces a switch out that you can either double and get an advantage in, stay in, get a recover off, get some damage off, etc. It's always a good thing to bring up in battles. Now that I got my ground type and I got a secondary water, the only thing my team's missing for 3 points is a rapid spinner. I have defog, but sometimes I want to set my own hazards as well, so I need a spinner, especially if I don't want to bring bundle boots every single week. So for that, I went to an old friend of mine from the Ubers tour of the JJDL, and it is Avalog. Now, this does give me a second ice type, which is actually okay, especially since I have access to Snowscape two different ways. I think having a normal ice type is pretty good, especially a defensive like Avalon. It has Ice Body, which means in the snow I can heal, which is great for things such as Snowscape and Chilling Reception. It has Sturdy as well, because this thing does not want to be hit on the special side, and Own Tempo if you want to run it. This thing is a wall. It's an ice table. It's there for defense. If they had like a fully defensive, physically attacking team, it probably isn't breaking Avalon with the 95 HP and 184 defense. Good luck. It has pretty bad special defense as its only drawback and why it's definitely only 3 points. It has actually decent attack, and if you tackle ass with Avalanche, can do some good damage. Has access to Rapid Spin, which is especially needed. It also, some reason, gets Aurora Veil. This gives me access to pretty easy Aurora Veil. If I can get this in and set up an Aurora Veil in the snow with Light Clay, I can get um, some pretty good turns out of this, which is amazing, especially for my team allows Kamo to set up pretty free, etc. It also gets body press with its 184 base defense, which does mass damage to anything that doesn't resist it. Body slam is actually a pretty good move to get paralysis. It has access to crunch, which is decent. Curse setup sets, earthquake has some good things such as gyro ball and heavy slam as well. Has good ice coverage in all the ice moves. Has Iron Head for more steel coverage. Has rock coverage. It's actually a pretty good mon for 3 points. I'm actually pretty happy I get it. It also has access to Mirror Coat, which I love. So if you want to do sturdy, hit me with special attack, and then die to your own mirror coat, perfectly fine with me. It gets Rain Dance, which is unique, Snowscape for itself. So I think it's a pretty good 3 point mon. Fills a niche for my roster, and in general, builds and rounds my roster out. So this is my team for now for the good cop, bad cop division of the JJDL. Please leave a like and a comment down below, and please subscribe if you've already not. Also, please leave a comment down below if you want to see actual team builders and full team builders before I try and upload week 2 of the JJDL. So if there's enough demand after the first week of JJDL for full team builders, I will do full team builders. And if there's enough demand for any other VGC or IDB content, like I talked about, please like down below. But for now, this is my team for the Good Cop Bad Division for the JJDL, and I will see you next time.